big gauntlets of the classical education. There's the concerto competition, and where everyone learns a concerto and auditions, and there's several rounds, and whoever wins the concerto competition gets to perform that concerto with the Oberlin Orchestra in the big Finney Hall. Is it Finney Chapel? Yeah. And so I had heard that the Beethoven Violin Concerto is really one of the most beautiful pieces, as opposed to a lot of the other violin concertos in the standard repertoire are super flashy, very showy, very much about being showy. And the Beethoven Violin Concerto is comparatively very subtle and really quite elegant and quite beautiful, and not even particularly flashy. And I had heard a version of the Beethoven Violin Concerto performed by Guido Kramer with cadenzas written by Alfred Schnittke, who is an incredible composer, contemporary composer. And these cadenzas, which used to be, the cadenza exists because it used to be the place in any concerto where the soloist would actually get to either improvise or write his or her own kind of soloistic interpretation of, or kind of variation on the various themes of the piece. And so it's a time when the orchestra stops and the soloist kind of waxes poetic about, using the building blocks of the piece. Right. And that when recording history, when the recording industry started becoming a thing, those started to get codified, and people would either play the Joachim cadenzas or the Chrysler cadenzas, or there were one or maybe two options for some concertos of which cadenzas you could play, and people stopped becoming an expectation that you would write your own. And Guido Kramer's version with Alfred Schnittke are really quite amazing because they really use the material of the piece, but they are very much rooted in a more contemporary language. And I decided that that's what I wanted to do. So I found an address for Alfred Schnittke, and I wrote him a letter, sent him a letter saying, I'm a young student at Oberlin and I would really love to play your cadenzas in any way I could get the music. And he eventually not emailed this before I even ever had heard of email. He eventually wrote back. Actually, I still have the letter. It was very kind of precise but messy kind of handwriting of someone that maybe is a little bit shaky. And said, thank you for your interest. I'm so glad you like these. But I think basically what he said is that Guido Kramer is the only one that plays these, and that he wishes me luck. And but thank you.
So there was probably a business arrangement, maybe, huh?
Probably for whatever reason, either publisher reason or exclusivity with Guido Kramer reason, he didn't want to give them up. So I decided to write my own, and it was really an amazing experience, and really pretty amazing. First of all, because the task was so clear. Like, there's a very few themes in the piece that are already used in very specific ways, but you can really identify what the themes are. So the materials were already there. And so it was a great kind of first serious composition exploration for me, because the good building blocks are given to me by the piece. And so I really got obsessed about them, and I would literally wake up at 4 in the morning, having dreamt of the next bar of music, and scroll it down. And I don't really usually get obsessed about things like that, so that was really satisfying, if not sleepless, moment for me. And I listened to them not that long ago, and I actually am still really proud of them.
That's fantastic. I was going to ask you.
I don't think I could still play them anymore. They're technically beyond what I could do now, because I was at a point where I was practicing 3 to 4 hours a day, and it was super in my fingers, and that's not really a part of that kind of dedication to the craft of violin isn't really a part of my life in as serious a way. But they really actually really stepped up to the task at hand and made them happen. They're supposed to be flashier kind of than the rest of the concerto. They're a place where you really can put your own kind of zip and into the piece. And I like the Schnittke ones. I didn't shy away from dissonance, and I didn't shy away from a language that was more intuitively right to me as a someone living in the then 20th century.
Right.
So yeah, that was another turning point for me, because I felt like it was really bringing together two things I was interested in and hadn't been able to unify before in